Well, good morning. How are you all today? And welcome to American Reversion. I'm Steve Smith. Let's talk a little bit about rebellion to tyrants, shall we? Being obedience to God. So grab your American Reversion Rebellion to Tyrants mug. And if you don't have one, shame on you. Why not? You can get them at the website store, stonemont.us, along with a whole bunch of other ones that are good. But let's get to this thing today. Texas is showing us how to do it. I don't usually wear a hat in the house. Sometimes I'll wear a cap. And a lot of people have asked, well, what's the difference between a hat and a cap? Well, a hat has a brim all the way around, and a cap does not. There's our headwear lesson for today. But today I'm going to wear this in solidarity with my Texas brothers and sisters, and also it's not time yet to wear straw. I started to put on my felt hat, and I said, no, I tell you, that's a dark one. This is a white one. I'm going to put this on in solidarity with the Texas Rangers, who I like those guys. I've had good relationships with them every time I've dealt with them. They're good. There were a couple of problems, yes, but among them, but hopefully they got them straightened. Rangers has been a storied group. And by the way, anybody anybody who believes that one rat, one ranger story, you've heard it wrong. Maybe I'll tell it right one of these days. But anyway, the Rangers are a good bunch, and they're going to be involved in this, and I write about them in some of my books. Well, Greg Abbott, and matter of fact, I want to come out here too before I get started. So I'm going to read Greg Abbott's letter. What's going on down there? You know what's happening down there. The feds weren't protecting the border. Texas took over, put up their razor wire, put their guard on the border. And then, the feds whined and the Border Patrol whined, wah, they're getting in our way of doing our job, which they weren't doing. And then, now I had got some problems because what the Texas the guard was doing was that they weren't letting them through there, but they were telling them to go down to the ports of entry. Well, as far as I'm concerned, if somebody comes into our country without first being processed, I mean first being processed, that's wrong. I don't agree with that a bit. But anyway, so now Biden has said, and the courts have said, no, Texas, you can't keep the feds from the border. And Abbott has come out and thrown in. He's raised them, and I'm going to read a proclamation that he just put out, and he has raised the stakes with the feds. Now I want to give credit to another channel here, and I don't watch many other channels. I really do. First, I don't have time. Secondly, I don't find most of them interesting. But and the ones that I do, they're saying pretty much the same thing I am. So I just say what I have to say, and they say what they have to say. But I was watching one today, as I happened to click on through things, and it's a channel, Pinball Preparedness. I think a lot of you probably watch him, and he said almost exactly what I was going to say today in this one, and it is about the possibility as more states start to resist. Resistance is the first step to either secession or rebellion. As more states start to resist an unlawful federal government, what can happen? So anyway, I want to give a little credit to him, and if I walk on some of the stuff that he said, well, I'm not copying him, but I'll give him credit for also covering this, because I pretty much already had. Matter of fact, I may not have to say what I was going to say, but I might. So if you don't watch Pinball Preparedness, go watch it. He's a smart guy. He's I won't say he's like me, but he is thoughtful. He is very intelligent. I believe he comes from a military background. I'm not sure. but he is a thinker, and he's not one of these guys that tries to scare you to death all the time with you know. And but I mean, he covers the things like I do, saying, yeah, these horrible things can be coming your way, but here's why. See, and here's what to think about. So if you don't watch him, I think you'd be interested in watching him. He talks almost as slowly as I do. Okay, I want to read you this thing that Greg Abbott put out, and you know, I know a lot of people down in Texas aren't big fans of Abbott. I don't know much about Abbott. I don't live in Texas. I had somebody come on the other side. She says, I know you're from Texas. No, I'm not. I'm from Kansas. From Kansas, live in Kansas. You know, we kind of consider Texas just a big Kansas, and they consider Kansas just a small Texas. Okay, so this is what I won't read the whole thing here, but I have already posted this up over on the Patreon channel. If you're with us over there, you can read the whole thing, and if you're not, come on over. Love to have you. He starts out, and this came out yesterday, January 24, 2024, from Governor Greg Abbott, governor of the great state of Texas. He says the federal government has broken the compact between the United States and the states. And that's good. The executive branch of the United States has a constitutional duty to enforce federal laws protecting states, including immigration laws on the books right now. President Biden has refused to enforce those laws and has even violated them. Okay, now let's go down to the next important part. Under President Biden's lawless border policies, more than 6 million illegal immigrants have crossed our southern border in just 3 years. This is more than the population of 33 different states in this country. This illegal refusal to protect the states has inflicted unprecedented harm on the people all across the United States. James Madison, Alexander Hamilton, and the other visionaries who wrote the U.S. Constitution foresaw that states should not be left to the mercy of a lawless president. Let's say that again. Lawless president, who does nothing to stop external threats like cartels smuggling millions of illegal immigrants across the border. This is why the framers included both, and then he talks about different articles, which promises that the federal government, quote, shall protect each state against invasion. And another article which acknowledges the state's sovereign interest in protecting their borders. Okay. Now down here in the next, the failure of the Biden administration to fulfill the duties imposed by Article blah blah has triggered Article blah blah. You don't care about that. Which you read it yourself, which reserves to this state the right of self-defense. For these reasons, I have already declared an invasion under Article such and such, Clause such and such, to invoke Texas's constitutional authority to defend and protect itself. The authority is the supreme law of the land and supersedes any federal statutes to the contrary. The Texas National Guard, the Texas Department of Public Safety, and other Texas personnel are acting on that authority, as well as state law, to secure the Texas border. Good for you, Abbott, and good for all the good people of Texas. And we know that people are moving down there. Other Guard units from other states are headed Texas way to support Texas in this. Now, what does this mean? Well, it can certainly be a precursor to something much larger than this. If we go back to that situation back in the 1860s that people still improperly refer to as a civil war, it was not. And I explained that in detail in my books. It was a matter of the federal government overstepping their constitutional authorities, the states being sovereign states and within their constitutional rights seceded from that union, each one of whom came together with the others, forming a separate political entity called the Confederate States of America, a separate country. Lincoln, who some people who, because of their ignorance, hold him up to be some great president. He wasn't. He was a scoundrel. Called up 70,000 troops from along many of the states. And what a lot of people know, even the ones who know that part, don't realize that many states refused to send people to Lincoln's little band of raiders, and said, we will not send people to fight against other Americans. But he got his 70,000 or a bunch and invaded the South and tried to, by force, and succeeded in forcing those states to return to the Union. But you see, they had seceded. They were no longer a part of the United States of America. And what he did was he invaded another sovereign country. People don't know that, but you should. And if you don't believe me, study it. Study it. Or read my books. I explain it all in there. I'll tell you one big disappointment. Antonin Scalia. He made a total wrong decision. Scalia was not the big conservative hero many people hold him out to be either. So what could happen with this? Well, this could be the flashpoint. This could be, I won't say that this is the match that lights the fuse. The fuse has been burning for a long time. But I say that this is another barrel. But you watch those Roadrunner cartoons, right? And there's a barrel of gunpowder, right? And the fuses are, maybe it's not Roadrunner, maybe it's other cartoons. It's been a long time since I watched cartoons, but in some cartoons, the fuse is lit and it's going towards the big pile of barrels that say dynamite or TNT on them, right? Well, this the fuse has been lit for a while, and it is getting closer and closer and closer, and these things are just somebody putting another barrel of dynamite on that pile, so that when it goes big. So we will see, and this is incremental, and what pinball preparedness pointed out is exactly what I've been thinking myself, and that is, there could be a fragmentation of this country, and really where it ought to be, the separation should be between the cities and the non-cities, because that's where the political differences are. But you can't really do that. How are you gonna? And I started to write down on my list of videos to make, I started to say, should we build walls around the cities? Well, that's never going to happen. So talking about it is kind of an exercise in futility. But, what's going to happen? I mean, those states that feel the same way. And Pinball he kind of described what I was going to. I would add some. I said, Texas. And we have other states sending troops down there, Florida, Arkansas, the people up through Kansas and Nebraska. Nebraska's kind of, they're an interesting state. You think about them as kind of being part of the Great Plains, and they're good folks. So many of them a little more liberal than you'd find in Kansas and South Dakota and North Dakota. But anyway, we'll include Nebraska in there. And Wyoming and Montana and Utah, Colorado. You got some great people out there, and it's a beautiful state, and it's a rugged state, and it's got a great history. But man, you just got too many libs out there, And Nevada, and go across the South. I'm sorry for you all in Illinois for what you have to deal with. A lot of good people. You get south of Chicago, and Illinois is just a great state, great people. And all that. We got a lot of states that think very You know, and then you get back to the Northeast, and we have this idea that the Northeast is all a bunch of libs, and it's not. I mean, the cities are, and much of the politics is. That's only because, you know, people vote, not acres, and it's kind of sad that the people back there have to, you know, live underneath that. But you know, I'm always amazed at how many people. Now, I sell books all over the world. I mean, I don't go out and sell them, but you know, when I look at my Amazon orders and when I look at people who order them through the website, I am amazed. You know, I always, you know, when I see somebody has ordered, you know, my books from Texas and New Mexico and Arizona and Oklahoma and Kansas and through the South and all that, I'm you know, well, yeah, naturally. I mean, those are the kind of people that kind of think like I do and live, you know, a similar life experience, let's say. Lifestyle, I won't say. We don't all live on ranches, you know, but I'm always surprised at the number of people, of the number of orders that I get for books and the mugs and the T-shirts and everything from, you know, New Jersey and Maine and Massachusetts and New York and Pennsylvania, you know, all these kinds of things. I'm really surprised. But that shows you, you know, that the American people are American people all across, you know, from sea to shining sea, as it were. And it's just these hellholes of the liberal cities that is driving this bus over the cliff. And you know, we need to do something about it. I'm going to make a separate one here in a little bit, because it wasn't my really daily one. This is a special edition. I should say something like that, like Fox alert, special edition. But you know, it's there are ways to combat this, and I'm going to talk about that in the one that I do in a little while. How do we fight back? But anyway, this was about Good for Texas. They have raised the stakes. This is going to be an interesting year. I mean, you know, when a tyrant pushes, it makes things interesting. But when people rebel, boy, it gets even more interesting, doesn't it? Okay. Good for Texas. Thinking about you all down there. I don't know, maybe Kansas. Nah, Kansas, we're not going to send our guard because we got a Democrat governor. That's because of the few urban places we have around here, and all of the imports, all the people who moved here from California and New Jersey and places like that, because we have one of the best standards of living in the world. And they came here and they're trying to ruin it, and we're trying to fight them. So anyway, remember, America needs a reversion. It needs you to stand up, and rebellion to tyrants is obedience to God. And I will talk to you later. Bye-bye.